Hello and welcome to Click a Brick. As promised at the end of my last video, today I'll be presenting with you 12 LEGO minifigure designs based on Season 1 of Spider-Man, the animated series. This is a TV show close to my heart, and I'm really excited to share these custom designs with you all. This is the second long format video on my channel, so if you want exposition on what my channel's about and what the purpose of these videos is, my video on X-Men 97 is a really good place to start, so feel free to go and watch that video before coming back to this one. For those of you who understand LEGO CMF videos, or for those of you who just want to see some cool designs, stick around and we'll head straight into my first design, Spider-Man, debuting in Night of the Lizard. Of course, I had to start with the main character of the show himself. I was careful to emphasise the features that make this version distinct from every other version of Spider-Man in LEGO form. For example, I tried to replicate the web pattern, eyes and logo as accurately as possible, and I do think that I achieved that within this figure. As normal, the colour keys on the left for those of you interested, and an image of the original character will be present on the right of your screen. As happy as I am with this character, it's still pretty simple, and I have some much more exciting designs for you later in this video, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Next up, Peter Parker, debuting in Night of the Lizard again. Since this is a minifigure series based on Season 1, I decided to draw Peter in his original polo shirt look. The colours were really difficult to achieve with the existing LEGO colours, and while it's definitely not perfect, I think the character is still recognisable. Up third, and the first villain on our list, we have the Lizard. Again, debuting in Night of the Lizard. I used pre-existing moulds to replicate the look in minifigure form, using the headpiece and neck attachment from the Lizard Man minifigure, as well as the legs that appeared on the Stranger Things Demogorgon. I really like this figure and how unique it is, and it's one of my favourite drawings from this episode. Next up, we have the first supporting character, Felicia Hardy, debuting in The Spider Slayer. She uses lots of shades of pink and purple to replicate her debut outfit from the show, as well as dual moulded legs to represent her skirt. Felicia is Peter's first potential love interest in the show, and she appears very frequently in Season 1, which is why she's included in this episode. The second villain on this list is Doctor Octopus, debuting in Doctor Octopus Armed and Dangerous. This has to be my favourite design this episode. I just love how accurately I was able to adapt his costume from the series. I used the neck accessory from the Star Wars Fifth Brother, and I did this to replicate Doc Ock's shoulder pads, as well as to make use of the clip on the back in order to attach his 4 tentacles. Since this was a minifig series custom, I didn't want to include large brick-built tentacles, as that would not be too fitting for the theme. Instead, I opted to design my own LEGO mould, which would be a single moulded piece in metallic silver that would clip onto the back of the shoulder accessory. These do look really amazing, however a side effect of that design choice means that the tentacles can't move independently. If any of you have a fix for this that would stay on a smaller scale, then please let me know in the comments down below. A little more of a simple design after Doc Ock, but a good one nonetheless. Aunt May, debuting in Night of the Lizard. Aunt May's arguably Peter's most important supporting character from the whole show, and one I felt I could not leave off this list. Like Felicia, she uses dual moulded legs to replicate the skirt look, as well as a custom printed face to represent her older but upbeat appearance. Another of the designs I'm most proud of this series, the Scorpion, debuting in the Sting of the Scorpion. This design is similar to the one LEGO's produced before, based upon the 616 look for the character. I used the same tailpiece as LEGO's original design, but printed in a different colour. I used changed printing to emulate the animated series design, as well as dual moulded arms and legs. I chose not to add a stinger to the end of Scorpion's tail. This was because, despite having a short spike on one side of the tail end, the main use of the tail is to dispense toxic poison. I replicated this look with a transparent green piece which can be placed into the end of the tail, and is a modified flame piece. Now for one of the most simplistic but effective designs thus far, Spider-Man in his black symbiote costume, which first debuted in the Alien Costume Part 1. This LEGO figure mainly consists of printed white eyes and an emblem on a pure black moulded base, with the exception of one of the most interesting printing choices for a symbiote minifigure I've ever seen myself. I added blue printing on all parts of the body to replicate the blue shading from the original series artwork. I really think it makes this version of Spider-Man stand out from any we've seen in LEGO before. Next up, Venom, debuting in the Alien Costume Part 2. This design is very similar to the one before, except for the added red printing on the minifigure's left side, the changed face print to include more angular eyes with pupils as well as a large mouth, and a slightly wider chest logo. I considered giving Venom the Mr. Incredible body mould like I did with Beast last episode. However, I decided against it, as Venom, while muscular in the show, is not nearly as large as Venom's designs in the more modern day adaptations, and is closer in size to a normal minifigure. However, if I chose to adapt Spider-Man Unlimited or Spectacular Spider-Man one day, I'd definitely use a larger minifigure build when designing them. If either of those shows is something you'd like to see, leave a comment so I know it's something you're interested in. The last supporting character on this list, I have Mary Jane Watson, who first debuted in Return of the Spider Slayer. Unfortunately, this is only the third supporting cast member for this series, as 3 slots were taken up for variations of Peter Parker. However, when I make a future episode on other seasons of the show, I'll be able to introduce designs for many more fan favourite characters. She uses dual moulded leg printing to represent her high boots from the show, as well as bright red hair, unlike other LEGO versions of Mary Jane which use ginger hair, as the red is more faithful to the show's design. For the penultimate character for this episode, Hobgoblin, first debuting in the Hobgoblin Part 1. This is one of the few designs I've made that I'm not too fond of. I found it difficult to emulate the look of the character, and I think while recognisable, I could have done a much better job. I do think, however, that the colours are spot on, and the cape helps distinguish the character's silhouette from the other figures. I do regret not adding the purple glider in some fashion. I found it hard to come up with a way to adapt it onto a smaller scale while still looking recognisable. If any of you have a fix for this, or would like me to do an updated version of this character, or any other character this episode, please let me know and I'll show any updates at the start of my next episode in this series. The last design for today, I have the Chameleon, first debuting in Day of the Chameleon, which is fitting for our last minifigure, as it's the last episode of Season 1. I love the colour scheme for this villain, and I think I managed to adapt him faithfully. I also chose to add pronounced cheekbones and nostrils to his face print to replicate the skeletal look. The belt is a new mould in a similar style to Batman's utility belt from the LEGO Batman movie sets. I did this so that the belt can be added to other characters to show that the chameleon has shapeshifted into them, as seen in the show. That's all I've got for you today. If you're at this part of the video, I want to give you a massive thank you for taking the time to listen to me ramble and look at my drawings with me. It really helps out a ton. These videos take a long time to create the artwork and commentary for, as well as to edit it all together. And if you enjoy my content, I urge you to please subscribe and turn on your notifications to be updated when I make my next entry into this series of videos. For those interested, I am planning on making some videos in the same style that might not all be related to LEGO, so if that's something you do or don't want to see, then please leave a comment and I'll take the time to reply to you. With that all being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.